Okay, the next item is item 5, Lumen Charter Settlement Proposal.
It's Carol Lear.
Yes, I was going to call that out. Carol Lear was asked to abstain from the conversation or voting. Is that correct?
Both. Yes, thank you. Though I will be viewing it because it's a public meeting.
Because it's a public meeting, so
I will not be voting. I will not be discussing. Thank you.
So you're abstaining from any conversation, debate, or motion or voting.
Thank you.
Okay. So next we'll have AAG Brian Quisenberry, who will introduce this topic. We kind of need an introduction, and then of course there's not a motion on the table, so we'll have an introduction and see if anyone has any questions regarding that introduction. So AAG Brian Quisenberry.
Okay, can you hear me, Chair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is Brian Questenberry, Assistant Attorney General for the board, and let me just get my, okay, there we go. So this is the Lumen Scholar Institute matter, and Chair, as I'm introducing this agenda item, it's my understanding that the attorney for Lumen Scholar, Aaron Preston, is here on the line and available for questions, as well as Neil Stevens and Cole Shakespeare, I believe, are also on the line and available to answer questions or provide input for the board if the board members have any need for to ask them questions. And so I don't know if you.
So Brian,
Yes, sir.
You reintroduce the 3 others and what their titles are and what they represent.
Yes, of course. So Aaron Preston, who is an attorney representing Lumen Scholar Institute, she, I believe, prepared the materials that had been submitted, the settlement proposal, and other materials that have been submitted to the board. And so I believe she is on this discussion. Additionally, Neil Stevens and Cole Shakespeare, who are fiscal monitors here for the board. They also, I believe Neil also prepared a memo and submitted that here as backup. And both Neil and Cole should be on this call as well, it's my understanding. And the purpose for that is if board members have specific questions or concerns or whatnot, then those 3 are available to field questions. With that said, just briefly, let me lay out the this Lumen item for the board's discussion. And it starts with our fiscal monitors reviewed certain expenditures of Lumen from fiscal years 2016, 2017, 2018, and they found just under $30,000 in unallowable cost spent by Lumen. So $29,658 is the full state and federal combined amount. So just under 30. And then of that, $4,770 is the federal amount. So just under $5,000 is the federal amount. And then the remaining $24,887, so almost $25,000, is state funds that we'll be talking about. Lumen initially appealed this determination, but has, through various discussions with myself and AAG Michelle Buse and Neil and Cole, has decided at this point to propose a settlement to the board, and an actual settlement agreement unsigned has been submitted for backup documentation, as well as a brief memo outlining the reasons or arguments in favor from Lumen in support of its settlement offer. two remaining items here to tee this up properly for the board. On the federal amount, the $4,770, staff calculated that there is any kind of payment with the feds requires interest be paid, and they calculated the interest at and we've got the details if that's necessary at $373.09. So that would be any kind of interest on top of the principal federal amount. Finally, as far as options the board can consider after it discusses or deliberates, it can certainly accept the proposed settlement offer. The board can reject the proposed settlement offer. The board could counter the proposed settlement offer, just a counter offer, and could also consider a payment plan. And so with that being said, Chair, I would turn this back to you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from board members regarding this introduction to what's before us?
Board Member Hanson.
Just a question for the chair.
Yes.
Have we considered handling this in a closed session as part of possible imminent litigation? Or is this proper in an open session?
I'll let our AG, Brian, quickly answer the question.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Board Member Hanson, we did consider and look at this and conducting this in closed session. However, the logistics of involving staff and Lumen's attorney to be available for questions was really challenging, and so we all agreed. Well, we leadership and myself and also representative for Lumen agreed that this open discussion would be okay and appropriate. Does that help?
Does that answer your question, Member Hanson?
I guess it answers the question, but I'm out. Am I on now? That answers the question. I'm still not sure that it's appropriate. This seems like the kind of discussion that we should be having in closed session to me.
There's also the opportunity to kind of, I guess, go into like a mediation kind of thing and then bring something forward, but this is.
If I can add in, kind of thinking through what Board Member Hanson is saying.
Yes, please.
And kind of thinking through, the board can certainly gather information at this point, either from staff or from Ms. Preston on behalf of Lumen. And then, we'd have to talk with Lorraine about how this would work, but I believe the bylaws allow a board member to move to go into closed session for more candid discussion. Certainly, this could be construed as a potential litigation for so that might be one way then to handle this going forward, or we just conduct the entire thing here in the closed session.
One of the challenges is that we don't have the luxury of going in and out of a executive session. Just to go in like we would in a regular open meeting.
That is true. Chair, we do have executive session scheduled at 2:30 to discuss other legal and litigation related issues.
Which is limited to our board members and key staff and not.
That is true.
Chair,
Yes.
I will make a motion that we use this opportunity to gather information from those who have been so kind as to attend our meeting today, and that we defer any decision or discussion of decision to the closed session, which will occur later this afternoon.
So we can certainly further the discussion to get information from those that have come, and then we can make a motion to postpone this and include this in our executive session, and then it can come back out.
That's the motion I'd like to make.
So do we want, and I'm getting a lot of feedback. I'm not sure if there's a lot of mics on or.
No, there's not a lot of mics on, but I don't know what the feedback is, but is that would that be a motion to postpone, or is it a motion to postpone till later in the meeting?
Yes, that's the motion, but I'd prefer to get the input that we have right now before we.
So let's limit, so without any objection, let's limit this first part, because we're still in the introduction part of this, to questions or comments for Aaron Preston or Neil or Cole. And I won't take a motion. I won't take a motion until, the only motion I'll take is one then to postpone this topic to then take your motion to accept your motion to postpone and have it come back after executive session. I'm not seeing any objections to that. So on the information side of that, is there any information besides what has already been shared in written form and or what Brian has brought forth for Aaron Preston or Neil Stevens or Cole Shakespeare? So is there any hands up to ask any questions?
Board Member Hanson's hand is up.
Okay. Board Member Hanson.
Yeah, we have a, in our packet, there's a memo from Special Education Services. I'm not sure who authored that memo, but I'm wondering if they are available to relay their position.
Board Member Hanson, I believe it was Neil Stevens who authored that, and I'm sure Cole inputted as well. So, Chair, I don't know if you've been able to open their microphone so that they.
Yes, I can. I've got Neil Stevens ready.
Board Member Hanson, you have a question?
Just like to hear from Neil on what his position is. Then it looks like there's maybe not full support for the settlement agreement based on the memo. Just like to ask him to explain his position.
Yeah, Cole and I's position on this is that the amount in question here are according to the law and rules of the state board. There, we requested that we provide documentation to the contrary that these amounts do not be issued. We didn't have any documentation demonstrate that these individuals provided records required by our rules and laws. That is the basis for our determination that and opposition has been filed.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear that on my end. I don't know if everyone else can hear.
I'm having the same challenge.
Can you hear me now? Board? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll repeat what I said. What I said is that we requested from Lumen documentation or evidence that the school director and the school counselor provided direct services to students with disabilities. This type of documentation can take the form of time and efforts, evidence that they were interacting or in a classroom with directly with students who have specific services required on their IEPs. They couldn't provide us in that information, and to my understanding, they didn't have the information documented. That is the basis of our opposition to a settlement agreement, because they have not been able to demonstrate to us that these costs were allowable.
Remember, Hanson, did that answer your question?
Yes, I appreciate that. I wonder if we could also hear, while we have Lumen's representatives with us, if they have any comments, maybe a rebuttal to what's in the memo or anything else they'd like to add, information that we should have before we go into the closed session this afternoon.
Okay. Aaron Preston is available, if that's okay, Chair.
You bet. Aaron Preston.
Thank you for allowing us to speak to this. We agreed to open session only because we would not be able to speak to what was in the rebuttal from the special ed group in closed session. So I appreciate being able to speak to this now. We would request being able to participate in any discussion regarding this. As to the basis for settlement, we have it laid out for you. The board and the state have shown leniency to other schools. We made some examples within that have been rebutted from Neil and Cole in their memo. We would ask for a different form of leniency. So while other schools have been allowed to use future funds, ours is a unique offer to repay now both the state and federal funds. I would hope that would be taken into allowance. An additional item is that one of the schools that was not considered is American Preparatory Academy, and the settlement that was reached there, which we believe is far more of a accommodation than what is in the Lumen proposal. Lastly, I would add that there are material issues in what has been presented by the special ed team. Most notably, Lumen has in their submittal shown that their directors were also licensed special ed teachers and directors and were sometimes acting in dual capacity. We have percentages of time, we just don't have time and effort sheets. We agreed to pay the federal costs because time and effort sheets are required. At the time, there was some confusion on what needed to be in the time and effort sheets for the state. So what documentation we have provided. The special ed group, however, in their response said, it's on the last page, although the directors may have been licensed special ed directors, they were not the special ed director at the time. Lumen Scholar Institute had entered into a contract with SPEDCO to provide special education director services. It was the special education director of SPEDCO with whom the USDE interacted, not the director at Lumen. I just wanted to make a point that at no point in the Lumen Institute ever had a contact with SPEDCO or ever had SPEDCO representing them. We don't know what that comment is about. We can provide documentation that there's never been a relationship, no money has been paid to SPEDCO, and so we would question the source of that information. Beyond that, I would welcome any questions.
Okay, any further questions for Preston? You see any hands up? Brittany?
There are no other hands up.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Not seeing any. Okay.
I don't see any other board member hands for questions.
Okay. So board member Hanson, do you want to make your motion to postpone until after our executive session?
motion to postpone discussion of the settlement with Lumen until the executive session, which will occur later on this afternoon.
I would second that, Chair. This is Mark.
We have a motion and then a second to postpone to after our executive session. Is there any hands up for debate?
No hands.
I just might want to add before I call this to a vote, that on Aaron Preston and others, I appreciate your memos and the detailed memos on all that's in our packet, and to establish your position and why you want to do what you want to do. So thank you for that good work. Yes.
I don't know if it's appropriate discussion when a motion is made, but I just noticed that Erin Preston has her hand up. I don't know if I missed it before the motion was made or.
I think it might be relevant. This is unique. So, Erin, did you have something to add to the, as an informational item here before we vote?
I do, and thank you for allowing me to speak to this again. Because it's whether or not we could speak in closed session in this discussion, we've presented the offer that we would like to make. We believe a cash offer for repayment would be fair. However, if that is rejected, we would ask to be treated the same as the American Preparatory Academy was treated in their settlement and allowed to offer indemnification for the state against any federal repayment amount that would be owed, which is the $4,700 amount, and be allowed to repay the full amount of state funds on a 10-year period with a 0% interest rate. That would be the alternative offer we would make should this offer be declined.
Right. Thank you. The motion before the board is that this item be postponed until after our executive session. So it'll come back after our executive session. We'll vote on that right now. This will be a roll call vote. Member Belknap.
Aye.
Member Bolter.
Aye.
Member Cannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Cummins.
Aye.
Member Davis.
Aye.
Member Earl.
Aye.
Member Gravitt.
Aye.
Member Hanson.
Aye.
Member Haynes.
Aye.
Member Lears abstaining. Member Marsh.
Aye.
Member Nelson isn't with us. Member Newell.
Aye.
Member Thorpe.
Aye. Aye.
And Member Huntsman's an aye. The motion passes.